Hello, my name is James Conrad, and it's my pleasure to be your instructor for this A+ 2006 revision of the Comptia A+ exam. Comptia is an organization that certifies the knowledge and skill sets for technical persons, and we're specifically looking for the A+ exam objectives, which deal with hardware and operating systems primarily. So let's go ahead and take a look first of all then at what exams are involved in the Comptia A+ exam series. Now it all starts off with the A+ Essentials exam. This covers a broad scope of hardware and operating systems that the A+ technician is likely to encounter. And then you couple the passing of that exam with one of these others. Once you couple it with one of these other exams that we'll cover shortly here, then you are officially A+ certified, but you'll be certified in a specific role or a specific area. Comptia calls these various designations. So if you pass the Essentials plus the 220-602, you'd be officially A+ certified as an IT technician designation. And this technician is often the person who works in a corporate technical environment. You probably have a high level of face-to-face client interaction. Some examples of this type of job role might include a PC technician or a field service technician. These would be kinds of roles where you might go visit that person, visit their computer in their cubicle and replace parts or do whatever you need to there. Other roles might also be described as enterprise technicians or IT administrators. Now, once you pass this exam and the Essentials, then you will be known as the IT technician. That will be your designation. And then we have this other one as well, the 220-603. This is the remote support technician. This is more likely going to be somebody where you'll still have some high level of client interaction, but much of what you do might be over the phone because you'll be remote, hence the name here, remote support technician. You might also have to do some kind of training over the phone to educate users as to what they're doing and how to properly do certain kinds of procedures. And very often, operating system is going to be a big emphasis, so you'll need to really know which version of Windows they're working with, and you'll have to be very familiar with it in order to be able to properly support that user. Now, job roles for this would include descriptions such as, or titles such as, remote support technician, help desk technician, or call center technician. And once again, once you pass the Essentials exam plus this 603 exam, you would then be designated as the remote support technician by Comptia. And then finally, there would be this last one, the depot technician. This is going to be somebody where you'll probably be a depot technician or a bench technician. This means that people bring their computers into you. This might be the fact that you work in a retail store of some kind where they have a computer repair center, and people bring their systems in asking if you can fix them. It's probably not as likely that you're going to go out and visit them in their cubicle or something like this. And there's probably a bigger emphasis on hardware in this kind of a role. And again, now, once you pass the Essentials exam and then the 604 exam, you become a depot technician. And then before I move on to other material about what we're going to address in this series, let me point out that a lot of the exam objectives across all 4 exams are duplicated. For example, just about all of them include something about networking. Most of them include something about printing. So it wouldn't make much sense to teach an entire section out of the Essentials exam on networking, for example, and then to turn around and repeat myself on the 602, 603, and 604 exams where much of the material is the same. So I'm teaching the entire video series here as a central core unit so that once you've listened to all the videos, you should be very well qualified to take the Essentials exam plus any or all of the additional exams that you prefer. Alright then, let's go ahead and address the topics that are included in this video series. The first thing we'll be discussing is various core hardware components, such as the motherboard and its various form factors, chipsets, BIOS, CMOS, buses and slots. All of those kinds of things are going to be addressed in the first few videos of this series. And then we'll also move into cables, connectors, and ports. We need to understand what those cables and connectors or ports are for, which standard they adhere to, and what speed they are, and why you would want to use one over the other in certain instances. And then, of course, we'll talk about storage as well, mostly relating to hard drive storage and its various aspects. But, of course, it's integral to a PC. We really don't have much unless we have a storage system to store the operating system on so that we can perform our tasks. And then we'll also address a big component of peripherals, and that would be the printer itself. Printers and printing is probably the biggest single topic that's included in any of the A+ exam objectives. It covers more space than anything else. If you were to go to Comptia's website, for example, and print out the objectives for all 4 exam and highlight anything that had to do with printing, you'd see a lot of yellow highlighter in all of those. So we'll address this in several different videos, but we'll also cover other peripherals, such as video monitors, video standards, digital cameras, barcode readers, biometrics, lots of things of this nature. And then we'll also talk about electricity, which to many is kind of a mysterious thing. We just know that we're not supposed to touch it, right? If you see a lightning bolt that's next to a powerful looking box of some kind, you just don't touch it, right? Well, we'll talk about how to safely handle electricity and to protect ourselves and to also identify things that we should not be working with. And then we continue on with networking. Now, besides printers, networking is one of the bigger topics in the A+ exam objectives, and it's in just about every exam in varying degrees. So we need to be very familiar with networking, and I'll address that in quite some detail. And that's also going to include things such as various types of networking devices and components, as well as wireless networking. And then we'll also address laptops, which are becoming increasingly popular as the price comes down and users become more mobile. So we'll have a lot of users out there nowadays that don't even use a desktop computer, they just have a laptop. So we need to be very confident in how we service those. One thing that's very important to understand as well is how to properly care for the computer, make sure that it stays clean and cool, and we'll address several things that relate to that, as well as safety and environmental issues. You want to make sure that you don't touch components that could kill you. Yes, I mean that seriously, kill you. So you have to be very careful about some of those items. Fortunately, most of them are encased somehow or another, so you're not going to touch those fatal kind of parts unless you go beyond what your scope is as an A+ technician. And then we'll also talk about environmental concerns. When you just get rid of an old computer, it's not useful anymore and it's too slow, we need to be concerned about where we put it, because it does have an effect on the environment at large. And then we also need to understand the working environment for the computer as well, and make sure that it stays in a safe place within the working environment. And we'll also talk about troubleshooting, which is really kind of interspersed through every topic I talk about, because a large part of troubleshooting is correctly configuring something in the first place. And once that's been properly done, then you minimize your troubleshooting. And then when you run into a problem, it's probably because something was not configured properly in the first place. And Comptia has very specific standards in terms of the methods that a Comptia A+ technician should use when troubleshooting components and operating systems. And then as we continue our A+ objectives, we'll see that we need to be very well aware of the various operating systems and have a good overview of them, as well as a technical knowledge of them. Now, fortunately, in the A+ 2006 exam objectives, there's not a big emphasis on down-level or older versions of Windows like Windows 95. The primary emphasis is on Windows 2000 and an XP of various versions. We'll also have to know some things about upgrading and installing the operating systems and the various ins and outs of that, as well as the interface, so that we can make our way around both operating systems. A big part of the operating system is understanding what management tools you can use to perform various functions and to troubleshoot and optimize the system. And then also we need to understand the difference between the system and boot files and where they can be located and what they do. We'll take a look also at operating system optimization, so that we can make the operating system run better, and also troubleshooting the operating system, because that, after all, is a big part of what people are going to be bringing to you when they're experiencing troubles with their systems. We'll also take a look at security, which is increasingly important and which is heavily emphasized here. And then we'll conclude our entire series with a communication and professionalism video. Now, this kind of information is new to the A+ exam objectives, and it was not in previous versions, but is becoming increasingly important because we now, more than ever, fulfill kind of a customer service type of a role, and we need to make sure that the people that we work for and that we work with are happy with the product and the service that we're able to provide. Well, I'm very excited to be able to teach this video series to you, and I hope that you enjoy this video series as much as I enjoyed making it. So let's go ahead and get started with our first video on motherboards, form factors, and chipsets.